The Bible mentions over 100 plants by name: hyssop, myrrh, frankincense, wormwood. These weren't decorative choices. They were medicines, antiseptics, pain relievers, used in specific ways by people who understood exactly what they were doing. Here's what nobody tells you. Almost every one of those plants has a lookalike, something that grows in the same soil, the same climate, the same season, and in some cases, the same garden bed that can send you to the emergency room if you confuse them. Sometimes it's the roots, sometimes it's the leaves, sometimes the toxic one is growing so close to the healing one that you'd have to get on your knees and look carefully to tell the difference. Today I'm going through 10 of those pairings: the biblical plant and the toxic twin growing right next to it. I want you to stay for number 4, because that one involves a plant used in the temple, referenced in the book of Exodus, that has a lookalike so dangerous that foragers have died from it within hours of contact. And I want you to stay for number 1, because number 1 is a plant that appears in the New Testament, in the Passion narrative, and the confusion around its identity has been debated by botanists and theologians for 2,000 years. That one goes deep. Let's get into it. This channel is for the people who read the labels, question the sources, and want to know what's actually growing around them. Not just what looks beautiful, not just what heals, but what harms, and how to tell the difference before it matters. If you came here because you trust your gut that there's more to this than what the plant shop tells you, you're in the right place. Before we go any further, subscribe. This community shares the things that don't make it into the gardening catalogs. Hit the button and stay with us. Number 10. Hyssop and hedge. Hyssop. Hyssop appears in Psalm 51. David writes, "Purify me with hyssop, and I shall be clean." It shows up again in the book of John at the crucifixion, a branch of it used to lift a sponge soaked in liquid to Jesus on the cross. This was not a poetic plant. It was used practically, medicinally, and ceremonially throughout the ancient world. Real hyssop, Hyssopus officinalis, is a Mediterranean herb with small blue-purple flowers and a sharp, slightly bitter scent. Research suggests it contains compounds that may support respiratory function, and it has been used for centuries to make teas and tinctures for coughs and chest congestion. The problem is what people reach for when they think they're picking hyssop. Hedge hyssop, Graciola officinalis, looks similar enough that foragers and beginning herbalists have confused them for generations. It shares the same narrow leaves, the same upright growth habit, and it often grows in similar damp, disturbed soil. But hedge hyssop is a potent cardiac glycoside plant. It was historically used in very small doses as a purgative. In the wrong quantity, it causes severe vomiting, dangerously low blood pressure, and cardiac arrhythmia. The warning was always there. The names just got tangled over time. If you're growing hyssop for tea or tincture, buy it from a named supplier. Hyssopus officinalis. Those words exactly. If you're foraging it, get a second opinion before anything touches your mouth. Number 9. Mustard and field pennycress. Jesus compares the kingdom of heaven to a mustard seed in Matthew 13. It's one of the most recognizable agricultural references in the New Testament. The smallest seed, the largest plant, a tree big enough for birds to nest in. Mustard in the ancient world was both food and medicine. The seeds were pressed for oil. The leaves were eaten. The plant was known, trusted, and everywhere. Sinapis alba, white mustard, and Brassica nigra, black mustard, are the plants most historians believe the text refers to. Both are real, edible, and in the same family as the mustard you have in your refrigerator right now. What grows in mustard fields, in mustard-colored abundance, with similar yellow flowers and similar leaf shapes? Field pennycress, Flaspi arvens. It looks close enough that it's been collected by mistake, and while it won't kill you outright, field pennycress contains compounds called glucosinolates in concentrations high enough to cause serious digestive distress, goiter formation with repeated exposure, and in livestock, neurological damage. It has a sharp, unpleasant taste that sometimes stops accidental ingestion, but not always, and not when it's dried and mixed into something else. Mustard has round seeds that roll. Pennycress seeds are flat, winged, and slightly indented in the center. That's your identification point. Look at the seed before you use the plant. Number 8. Wormwood and poison hemlock. Wormwood appears in Revelation 8:11 as the name of a star that makes the waters bitter. It also appears throughout Proverbs, Lamentations, and Amos, always as a symbol of bitterness and consequence. That symbolic weight comes from what the plant actually does. Artemisia absinthium is intensely bitter. It contains thujone, a compound that was used historically to stimulate digestion and expel intestinal parasites. It's the plant behind absinthe. Used in very controlled doses, it has genuine therapeutic history. Wormwood is a silver-green, feathery-leafed perennial with a strong, almost medicinal smell. That smell is your friend. Poison hemlock, Conium maculatum, is also feathery-leafed. It is also silver-green in certain light. It also grows in disturbed soil, along roadsides, at the edge of fields, in the kinds of places wormwood grows. But poison hemlock has no smell. Or rather, it has a faint, unpleasant, mousy smell when you crush the leaves, not the sharp medicinal bite of wormwood. This matters because poison hemlock killed Socrates. It contains coneine, which causes ascending paralysis, starting in the legs, moving up through the body. There is no antidote. Death from respiratory failure can occur within hours. Hemlock also has one identification mark that wormwood doesn't: purple-red blotching or streaking on the hollow stem. If you see those spots, put it down. Walk away. Wash your hands. Wormwood stems are solid, woody, and covered in fine, silvery hairs. Know the difference. Number 7. Balm of Gilead and poison sumac. Jeremiah 8:22 asks, "Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there?" The balm of Gilead was a resinous plant product so valuable in the ancient Near East that it was traded as currency and used as a royal gift. The exact botanical identity is still debated, but the most credible candidates are Commiphora gileadensis, a small, resinous tree, and Populus balsamifera, the balsam poplar, whose buds are still sold today as a salve ingredient. Balsam poplar buds contain salicin, the same compound that aspirin is derived from. They also contain compounds studied for their potential anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties. Real, verifiable, ancient. Now here's where it gets dangerous. Poison sumac, Toxicodendron vernix, is a shrubby tree that grows in wetland areas throughout the eastern United States. It has compound leaves, small clustered berries, and a resinous sap. It is the most toxic of the urushiol-containing plants, more so than poison ivy, more so than poison oak. Contact with the sap causes severe blistering rashes, and inhaling smoke from burning poison sumac can cause internal blistering of the respiratory tract and has been documented as life-threatening. People who forage for balsam poplar in unfamiliar territory have walked into poison sumac stands. The key difference: balsam poplar leaves are alternate and singularly attached. Poison sumac has compound leaves, multiple leaflets arranged along a central stem, 7 to 13 leaflets per leaf, with smooth edges. Poison sumac also has white or gray berries. Balsam poplar has no berries. White berries in a wetland shrub. That's the warning. That's what they always knew. We're halfway through, and the ones still to come are the ones I most wanted to make this video about. If you're finding this useful, share it. Not for the algorithm, because someone in your family has a garden and they may not know what's growing in the corner of it. Keep watching. Number 6. Aloe and false aloe. Aloe vera doesn't appear by that exact name in scripture, but the plant family, and specifically aloes, appears in Numbers, in Song of Solomon, in Psalms, and in John 19, where Nicodemus brings myrrh and aloes to prepare Jesus' body for burial. The aloes referenced in the ancient text were most likely Aquilaria, used for their fragrant resin, but the medicinal aloe family has been used across the ancient world in wound care, skin treatment, and digestive support since at least 2100 BCE. Egyptian records confirm it. It was called the plant of immortality. Real aloe, aloe vera, is a succulent with thick, fleshy, toothed leaves and a clear gel interior. You cut a leaf and the gel comes out. That gel contains ace-mannan and other compounds associated with wound healing and gut support in current research. False aloe, Manfreda virginica, or in some regions, Agave americana, misidentified as aloe, looks similar in form but does not have the same properties. More dangerously, agave can cause chemical burns. The sap contains saponins and oxalic acid crystals that cause severe contact dermatitis, and if ingested, intense gastrointestinal distress. There's also Euphorbia tiracali, the pencil cactus, which gets marketed occasionally as a succulent alongside aloe plants, and whose milky white sap causes corneal damage on eye contact and serious skin reactions. It does not have fleshy, toothed leaves like aloe, but in a garden center, arranged in the same display, it has been taken home by people who didn't look closely. With aloe, look for the toothed edge and the clear, not white interior gel. White sap from any succulent is a warning. Number 5. Garlic and death camas. Garlic appears in Numbers 11. The Israelites in the wilderness remember the garlic of Egypt, listing it among the foods they miss. It was part of the daily ration of Egyptian pyramid workers. Medical papyri from 1500 BCE document its use as an antiparasitic and treatment for circulatory conditions. Modern research on allicin, the sulfur compound in garlic, has explored its potential antimicrobial and cardiovascular support properties. The plant has not changed. The evidence has only grown. Wild garlic, Allium ursinum, grows in woodland woodland areas and is edible. Cultivated Allium sativum is the garlic in your kitchen. Both smell distinctly, powerfully of garlic. Death camas, Zygodinus venenosus, also called Anticlea elegans or Zygodinus nutalii depending on region, has no smell. It grows in similar fields, similar roadsides, and produces a bulb that looks almost identical to a wild garlic or wild onion bulb in the ground. Every part of death camas is toxic. The alkaloids, zygosine being the primary one, cause rapid cardiovascular collapse. Deaths have been documented in both humans and livestock. Native American historical records document deaths from accidental consumption. Foragers have died. The test is simple. Crush a leaf. If it smells like garlic or onion, it is in the allium family. If it has no smell or a faintly sweet smell, put it down. Do not eat it. Do not take it home. The smell is the key. It has always been the key. Death camas cannot replicate it. Number 4. Frankincense and poison parsley. Frankincense, Boswellia sacra, is named in Exodus as one of the 4 ingredients of the sacred incense burned in the tabernacle. It appears again in the gifts of the Magi in Matthew 2. Boswellic acids, the active compounds in frankincense resin, have been studied extensively for their potential anti-inflammatory effects. The research is serious. Some studies have explored applications in inflammatory bowel conditions and arthritis support. The ancient priests who burned this plant were not being superstitious. They were using something that worked. Boswellia is a tree. The resin comes from its bark. You don't forage it from the ground. That should keep it safe. But people who grow herbs associated with biblical tradition often grow plants from the carrot family, Apiaceae, because several of them have biblical roots. Dill is in that family. Cumin is in that family. Anise and coriander, mentioned in Matthew 23 and Numbers 7 respectively, are in that family. And fool's parsley, Athusa sinapium, is in that family. It looks almost exactly like flat-leaf parsley or young coriander. It grows in gardens. It has been harvested by people who thought they were harvesting something else. Fool's parsley contains polyacetylene compounds and alkaloids that cause vomiting, convulsions, and in severe cases, respiratory failure. It has a faint, unpleasant smell when crushed, described as garlic-like but wrong, acrid, unpleasant. Real parsley and coriander smell fresh, clean, herbal, but the most important difference is a structural one. Fool's parsley has small, distinctive bracts, long, narrow green leaves hanging down below each flower cluster, pointing downward. Real parsley does not have those hanging bracts. Look under the flower cluster. If something is hanging down like a little beard of green, stop. That's not parsley. Number 3. Hyssop revisited, the thornier question. I mentioned hyssop at number 10, but I want to come back to it, because the identification question in Scripture is more complicated than most people realize, and that complication has real-world consequences. John 19:29 describes a sponge being placed on a branch of hyssop and lifted to Jesus on the cross. Biblical scholars have noted for centuries that hyssop, Hyssopus officinalis, is a low, shrubby plant. Its stems would not typically be long enough or sturdy enough to lift a sponge to a man at any height. Some botanists and theologians have proposed that the plant referenced may actually be a different species entirely, possibly sorghum vulgare, the cereal grain, or a plant called Origanum maru, sometimes called Syrian marjoram. Others hold to hyssop proper, arguing the cross may have been lower than artistic tradition depicts. Why does this matter for a channel about plant safety? Because people who search for biblical hyssop to grow, to use, or to buy have access to a plant market that is not consistent. What's sold as wild hyssop or biblical hyssop in herbal markets varies by region. Some of it is legitimate Hyssopus officinalis. Some of it is Saturaja, savory. Some of it is the hedge hyssop I mentioned earlier, which contains cardiac glycosides. Buy from botanical suppliers who label by Latin name. If the packaging says only hyssop, ask what the Latin name is. If they can't tell you, don't use it internally. This is not about fear. It's about the same precision the priests of the temple used when they assembled the sacred incense. They knew exactly what they were burning. You should too. Number 2. Spikenard and Gelsemium. Mary of Bethany anointed Jesus' feet with spikenard in John 12:3. The text calls it pure nard, worth 300 denarii, which was roughly a year's wages for a common laborer. Spikenard, Nardostachys jatamansi, is a flowering plant from the Himalayan region. Its essential oil is amber-colored, thick, and intensely earthy. Research has explored its potential as a sedative and anxiolytic, with studies suggesting it may support the nervous system. It was one of the most expensive substances in the ancient world, traded across thousands of miles. Here's the danger. Spikenard is not easy to source, honestly, and because it's expensive, adulteration happens. More relevantly for home gardeners, people who grow native wildflowers sometimes cultivate plants in the valerian family, which Nardostachys belongs to, without realizing there are toxic lookalikes growing nearby. Yellow jessamine, Gelsemium sempervirens, is one of the most toxic plants in North America. It is the state flower of South Carolina. It grows in woodlands, along fences, and in ornamental gardens throughout the American South. It produces small, fragrant, yellow, tubular flowers. It is beautiful. Every part of it is toxic. Gelsomine and related alkaloids affect the nervous system within hours of ingestion. Symptoms include double vision, muscle weakness, and respiratory paralysis. Children have died from putting the flowers in their mouths. Honey made by bees foraging heavily on gelsemium has caused poisoning. Gelsemium is sometimes called false jasmine or woodbine. If someone offers you a cutting from something in their garden and calls it that, do not use it. Do not make tea from it. Do not let children handle it. The warning was always there. We just stopped repeating it. Number 1, the plant at the cross and the question nobody answers. I told you this one goes deep. Let me take you there. When Jesus is offered something to drink on the cross in Matthew 27:34, the text says it was wine mixed with gall, kole in Greek. He tasted it and refused it. Mark's gospel calls it wine mixed with myrrh. Biblical scholars have proposed at least 4 different plants as the source of that bitterness. Wormwood, Artemisia absinthium, colocynth, Citrullus colocynthus, a wild gourd, myrrh, Commiphora myrrha, and most intriguingly, black henbane, Hyoscyamus niger, henbane. Here's why this matters. Hyoscyamus niger is a member of the nightshade family. It contains hyoscyamine, scopolamine, and atropine. In ancient warfare and execution practice, it was sometimes given as a sedative, a mercy before pain. Some historians believe the wine mixed with gall was a compound drink containing henbane, given to crucifixion victims as a crude anesthetic. Jesus refusing it, in this reading, was a deliberate choice to experience the full weight of what was happening. Henbane grows across Europe, Asia, and parts of North America. It looks like a coarse, hairy weed. Its flowers are pale yellow with purple veins. It smells unpleasant. It grows in disturbed soil, at roadsides, sometimes at the edge of garden beds, and it looks similar enough to other plants in the nightshade family, including edible varieties, that it has caused accidental poisoning repeatedly throughout history. More urgently, people who grow elderberry or any nightshade-adjacent plants in their gardens should know what henbane looks like. The hairy leaves, the yellow-purple veined flowers, the foul smell, the sticky feel of the leaves from glandular hairs. If you find something in your garden that fits that description, do not touch your face. Do not let children near it. Contact a local agricultural extension office for identification. The plant at the cross may have been a mercy offered and refused. In your garden, it is simply a danger. That's what the record shows. That's what this channel is for. I promised you a bonus, and this one's huge. There's one pairing that didn't make the main list because it's not a single plant. It's a category, and it might be the most practically important thing I'll say in this entire video. The carrot family, Apiaceae, contains more edible biblical plants than almost any other. Dill, cumin, coriander, anise, caraway. All of them are referenced in scripture, all of them used in ancient kitchens and medical traditions. And the carrot family also contains 3 of the most deadly plants in the world. Poison hemlock, which I mentioned at number 8. Water hemlock, Cicuta species, considered by many toxicologists to be the most violently toxic plant in North America, capable of causing grand mal seizures and death within 15 minutes of ingestion. And fool's parsley, which I mentioned at number 4. Here's what you need to know. All 3 grow in gardens. All 3 look like common herbs when young. All 3 have died-in-the-ground root systems that can push up every spring without you planting them. If you grow dill, coriander, or any feathery-leafed herb from seed you didn't buy from a named supplier this season, and something comes up in that bed that you didn't intentionally plant, do not assume it's your herb. Smell it. Look under the flower cluster. Look for purple stem spotting. Look at whether the stem is hollow or solid. The carrot family rewards careful attention. Inattention in the carrot family has killed people who knew what they were doing. Plant from a named seed. Buy from named suppliers. Know the Latin names. That's not paranoia. That's how the priests worked. That's how the herbalists of Gilead worked. That is the precision this knowledge has always required. If this video gave you something you didn't have before, share it with someone who gardens, someone who forages, someone who grows herbs for their family. Not because this channel needs the views, because this information is genuinely useful and genuinely underused. Tell me in the comments, which of these pairings surprised you most? Was it the hyssop confusion, the death camas, the possibility of what was offered at the cross? I want to know where your mind went. If you're not subscribed yet, do it now. This channel keeps going further into the things the gardening world leaves out. The warnings, the history, the names that matter. Come back for the next one. The warning was always there. Now you know where to look.